What is up, everybody? It is Friday, and I'm excited for the weekend. Welcome to the Periscope. This is JenniferBlanchard. I'm an author and a story coach. I work with serious emerging novelists who want to save time and cut years off their learning curve so that they can write much better stories and get published faster. So, Buffalo. Is that where you're located? I'm about an hour from Buffalo in a city called Rochester. Yes. Oh, cool. Local. Awesome. So welcome to week 2 of NaNoPlanMo. This whole week I have been talking about characters, and most importantly, I've been focusing on your protagonist. And for anyone who doesn't know, NaNoPlanMo is National Novel Planning Month. I'm doing this the entire month of October to get everybody ready for National Novel Writing Month, which starts November 1st. So this week, like I said, I've been talking about your protagonist, which is your good guy, your main character in your story. And so today I wanted to give you some information and tips about creating a really good bad guy, so your antagonist in your story. So really, there are a few things you want to know about your antagonist. So 3 things specifically. You want to know the character's backstory. So how did this person become who they are right now? You know, what made them turn into this bad guy if they weren't this way when they started? How do they become this way now? And this kind of stuff you probably won't see a lot of in the actual story, but you as the author wants to know this information. You need to know it so that you can write a really good antagonist. Now, you also want to know the goal that this antagonist has in the story. And that's because, every character, especially your 2 main characters, they have a goal of some kind. So your protagonist has a goal and your antagonist has a goal as well. And they have their own agenda. So, it's not just to oppose what the protagonist wants, but they also want something in the story. And whatever that might be, that's up to you to decide. But you definitely want to know what your antagonist's goal is in the story. And then you want to know how is this person going to, or if it's a force, how is this force or person going to oppose your protagonist? So what are they going to do to help make them the person that they become by the end of the story? So, are they going to set obstacles? Are they just going to have a bad attitude? I mean, what kind of things are you going to have them doing to make sure that they are opposing your protagonist? And what you want to remember is that antagonists are often driven by resentment. And that's probably true in most cases. So they're resentful of something, or they resent something that happened to them in the past or whatever. They might even resent your protagonist in some way if it's a story where, they're people who know each other. Like the story that I wrote this year. The protagonist and the antagonist knew each other. They were in a relationship at one point, and then, she breaks up with him and he decides he's going to get revenge on her. So, resentment driven. That's what you want to remember about your antagonist. The driving force is resentment. So what do they resent? Why? And how did that turn them into who they are now? And then you want to remember that your antagonist's main purpose in the story is to help your protagonist, the good guy, change in some way. So your good guy can't change without having some sort of struggle, external struggle that they deal with. And so that is your antagonist. Your antagonist is the external struggle. And that's what's going to help your protagonist become the hero by the end of the story. So really, an antagonist is there for that reason, to make sure that your protagonist can change in some way, can, overcome the inner demons, and then also, defeat the antagonist by the end. Now, with antagonists, they're not always bad people. They can be. They can be very bad people, or they can be good people who turn bad, or they can be bad people or good people who lost their way. They can be people who are just sort of bad. That's really up to you to decide. But what you want to remember is that regardless of what type of bad guy it is, the bad guy always believes that they are right. They always believe that whatever their agenda is, whatever it is that they want, they just think they're the hero of their own story. They just really believe that they're right. And so that's what you have to have your antagonist in your story believing, is whatever it is that they want and their agenda, they are behind it 100%. And unlike your protagonist who, still has to overcome some inner demons and become who they are at the end and become heroic, your antagonist doesn't wishy-washy like that. Your antagonist just has conviction, believes in whatever it is that they want, and won't stray from that. That's the difference really between the bad guy and the good guy, because the good guy has to learn to become heroic because, they have all these things to overcome. Whereas the antagonist, they just believe what they believe, and that's it. And so an antagonist doesn't have to change in a story. Now, you can make them change. That's up to you. That's always an option, but they don't have to change. So your protagonist, the good guy, has to change in some way, has to overcome inner demons, has to defeat the antagonist, and by the end of the story be different than they were in the beginning. But that is not always true for the antagonist. So that's up to you to decide. And if you want to check out, there's a really good article by Art Holcomb. He is a screenwriter and a really just amazing writer. And he has a blog post that he wrote. If you go to this link right here, I made a little bit.ly for you. So bit.ly/agoodbadguy. You can read his article, and it's a really, really good breakdown of what your antagonist should have in the story. And it explains some of what I just explained, but it goes a lot deeper on other things about antagonists that you should know. So if anyone has questions, put them in the chat box now. Otherwise, I'm going to wrap this up. This is the 5th scope I've done this week, and I'm coming back Monday with 5 more scopes for the week. Next week, I'm going to be talking about story structure. So everything you need to know about story structure in order to use it in your novel. And story structure is a really important week because, you know, if you get story structure wrong, you're dooming yourself to a full draft rewrite. There's no way around it. You're going to have to redo the whole draft because the structure is the pieces that hold the story together and that really drive the core story all the way through. So if you want to make sure that you have that in your story, be sure to check out my videos next week. And if you missed any of the videos from this week or the ones from last week about story planning, definitely check them out by going here, catch.me/inkybites. And like I said, this week I've been covering character. Last week I talked about concept premise and how to turn your idea into a stronger concept and premise. And next week I'm going to be talking structure. And then the final week of the month, I'm going to be talking about scene planning and then prepping for NaNoWriMo. So if anyone has questions, again, last chance, put them in the chat box. Otherwise, I'm wrapping this up and I'm going to go start my weekend. So, was Gone Girl the biggest shakeup of protagonist-antagonist ever? I can't really answer that fully because I never read the book or saw the movie, but I saw trailers, and I've seen reviews of it, so I've definitely saw that it was quite different compared to most stories and how a protagonist and antagonist relationship kind of works. But I can't really answer that fully because I've never seen it, so sorry about that. But I will see it at some point probably because it did look like a really good story. I just, I'm not big on when everybody starts getting hyped up on stories like, 50 Shades of Grey and Twilight and all these things. I try to avoid all that stuff because I don't really like to be reading and watching everything everyone else is. But eventually I'll get to it, so yeah. But all right, well, I'm going to wrap this up and have a great weekend. I'll be back Monday with more story planning tips, and thanks for joining me. Bye.